Welcome to the world of cinematics. We have some exciting news. First off, we are now doing video for the podcast. So if you're an audio listener, feel free and hop on YouTube and you can find us there. Also, another side note, right now our audio is going to be a little off. I need to get the guys down in Rexburg. Need to get their some equipment to them so they can actually have better audio. So just forgive us for that, and we'll see how this all goes. Oh, and I also need to get them a webcam as well. But today's episode, we're talking about WandaVision. Okay, I can't keep looking at the camera. I gotta look at you guys. It feels weird. I'm
just look where it feels natural to you.
To our audience, I'm recording them up on my TV, so I'm gonna be looking up. You can admire the bags under my eyes. I did this for you. All right. So go ahead and get us started off. Someone want to do a summary
Of the whole series, of the finale, of what?
of what WandaVision is?
It's a TV show.
The very first canon MCU show as well.
True.
It is the story of Wanda Maximoff, who we've come to know in previous Marvel movies, how she has, in her grief, created an alternate world of sorts in this little town called Westview, New Jersey. In it, life is like a sitcom, and everything is happy, she has Vision back, and everything is going great. But there's little things that keep showing that not all is as it seems. And we learn through the course of the show that something truly dark is going on, and that this isn't just, a happy little episode of Dick Van Dyke or Bewitched, but set in the MCU. I don't know how much we want to spoil this, but
yeah,
we're going full spoilers.
Sorry. This season's done. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus. Go watch it. I did. I literally binged it Saturday because I didn't want to jump in and just start doing podcast episodes on it.
Yeah, it's not a super long show. It's 9 episodes, and they range from kind of 25 minutes to 45 minutes each, so not too long.
Yeah. It starts off with a different format, and then as the format changes, it gets longer.
It's really different from a lot of other shows.
Yes, in many ways it felt like a more accessible version of what David Lynch might do. For those of you who don't know, David Lynch is a director and a showrunner and writer who's known for his weird and surreal style of storytelling. Like his first movie was called Eraserhead. And it's all about the fears of parenthood, like not feeling ready. What if your kid is going to be bad or unhealthy or whatever? And he tells this story by having it all be in this weird black and white, and this couple who has a kid, this kid is like this ugly, barely alive demon spawn thing. It's constantly screaming, and they're just barely hanging on to life. It's like every worst scenario of parenthood imaginable. So he tries to take these weird, non-logical styles of storytelling, and not just the concept, but also the way he presents his scenes just isn't logical. It doesn't follow what you would think should happen. But you understand by what you're feeling what's going on. That's kind of what WandaVision was. It's about a woman trying to process her grief, but done in a very much non-traditional manner.
It's fetching weird.
It's true. In fact, that's a pretty good summary of it all. Is there are some moments where it's pretty funny, good homages to the shows it talks about.
Very good recreations of the different shows.
Yes, good layouts, near perfect way of how each scene was laid out in those type of shows. But also, there were moments where it's like this could have been released during October and Halloween, because there was a lot of moments where it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's kind of a zombie moment there.
And not just in the Halloween episode they do. No, there are moments of darkness and unease all throughout the show. Maybe it's just one moment of somebody saying, stop it, stop it, stop it, over and over again like a broken record. Or maybe it's seeing somebody as a character last saw them, which was not in the best of times, shall we say.
Yeah, and you could even argue just even the subtle, not so subtle changes, like when red is introduced into the black and white realm.
Yeah.
It just pops out more, and then it goes from this little helicopter toy to suddenly a person's blood, which, back then, during Dick Van Dyke and Bewitched, you're not as likely to see that on television. So,
no, not at all.
Especially the color portion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the moments, from that episode is a small spoiler for those of you who haven't watched. We see a man who seems to be invading this world. He seems to be like a beekeeper or some sort of foreign menace crawling out of a manhole. And Wanda just says, no. And all of a sudden, all of reality starts rewinding to a few moments earlier before he had gotten there. Now, we learn later that he's an agent of the U.S. trying to go in and see, what's going on. Is everything okay in there? Because the outside world sees something is going on, but they're not sure. And he's never brought up again. We don't know if Wanda, in her lack of control and her emotion, just said no and wiped him from existence because he's not on the outside anymore, and he's sure not on the inside anymore. Maybe he's now living in this town and just never brought up again. We don't know, but not a whole lot of great options.
I never realized that.
There's lots of little things all throughout the show that are presented as little things, but the more you think about it, they're not so little.
That's why you don't binge it in a week.
Hey, it was a weekend, not a week.
Weekend.
I'll have you know.
You don't think
what if he was
about
just
it.
dropped in the sewers? He was just
Right.
no, dropped.
Should we talk about the cameo?
Oh, cramp in the foot. Oh, cramp.
There has been some discontent on the internet because of a certain cameo in the series. We'll preface it by saying... Yeah. We'll preface it by saying that before this cameo was revealed in episode 4, right? It was 4?
Yes.
No, it was 5.
5.
Before this cameo was revealed, just like a week or so before, Elizabeth Olsen, who plays Wanda Maximoff, was asked in an interview, there was a big character reveal on The Mandalorian Season 2 finale that no one saw coming. Is there something similar that's that's going to happen in WandaVision? And Elizabeth Olsen said, yes, there is an actor who has been cast who I'm surprised no one has heard of yet. And I don't know if she had been aware, but it had been leaked maybe 6 months before that Evan Peters was going to be in the show, and Evan Peters is famous for, in the X-Men movies, playing Peter Maximoff, also known as Pietro Maximoff Quicksilver in the MCU, who is her twin brother. So when he was revealed on the show, there were many people who thought, oh look, it's Quicksilver from the X-Men. This is how they bring in the mutants to the MCU, because we know that this is going to be leading into the Doctor Strange sequel in the Multiverse of Madness. So it's going to be the multiverse collapsing in on itself as the mutants are brought in, and Spider-Mans and all these different things.
Lies.
So, okay, guys. We all know we make mistakes, right? I forgot to start the recording for the Zoom meeting. No, don't worry. My laptop's recording my audio, so we still got that. To our audience, I'm sorry. But I forgot to start recording the Zoom meeting.
That's
Well,
wonderful.
they won't see what we're doing to you right now.
No, we're gonna keep it. I've started recording now, and to our audience who's now gonna be watching, I'm gonna put like a bunch of weird like just pictures and stuff right before.
Give him the bird.
That's just true. Yeah. So yeah, I forgot to start recording till now. But it's now recording. And in that black space that they will all see in post will be something. I'll figure it out when I get there. Yep.
It's just like the Wizard of Oz. We'll start with half film there, and then we'll have the other half have both film and sound.
Yeah.
We're going from black and white to color.
And if we want to, we could even end this like a silent film where we have visual but no audio. We'll just mime our way out.
Can we do the clap again to, Not yet. All right. On 3. 1, 2, 3.
You get to see some of the... Okay. You get some insight on the production end of how we put this podcast together.
I promise not all episodes are going to be like this. I don't promise. Anyways, all right, continue.
I was just calling it a lie about bringing in X-Men from the 20th Century Fox. It was all a lie.
Well, I would posit the fact that it's, or my assertion that it's not a lie because they never said they were bringing in X-Men.
The subtitles did.
Not the subtitles, the audio descriptive service. That is true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
The audio descriptive service where you watch the episodes that maybe you're blind or your vision is impaired in some way. They'll kind of narrate what's going on. It's like listening to a radio drama. When his character is introduced, it doesn't say, some guy with white hair has showed up at the door claiming to be her brother. It's the, how do they put it? The 20th century version of Quicksilver has appeared at the door. And so that may not have been something that Kevin Feige had direct input on. I don't know if he goes through every bit of audio descriptive service for every episode and every TV show adaptation or whatever. But it may have been something that he intentionally threw in there to throw us off. Which, if so, yes, that was a lie.
I gotta say, it was kind of funny, though, how they kind of threw us for a loop. And spoilers, how it wasn't even Quicksilver from a different dimension. It was just some guy who was brainwashed.
Yeah, it was just taking advantage of the fact that we know that the actor plays a version of that role to say, hey, could it be? When the answer was no.
And that's where the lies came in. Oh, side note. Sorry, I haven't had dinner. I'm eating. You want to judge me? Go for it.
Be similar to having before Tom Holland was introduced as Spider-Man, to have Tobey Maguire playing a pizza guy in an Avengers movie who will, come up and say, hey, it's pizza time. And the big reveal is that it's not Peter Parker, it's just a guy delivering pizza.
Guy. And then he gets brutally killed or something. He gets impaled on Doc Ock's arm.
I would watch that if he was dancing.
And he's still dancing while impaled. Hey, Robert, is this an ASMR thing you're going to eat in front of the mic or what?
Do I need to add the word strawberries?
Dude, them strawberries, man. I'm a raspberry fan, but now I'm a strawberry fan.
I'm waiting for your pitch where you'll find a way to make sure that she gets a part in your movie.
Yep. Ooh. Yep.
I didn't even think of that. Brilliant.
What kind of movies you're making, Robert?
I actually thought of a role that I think she could be pretty good in
a
different pitch, but that's a story for another time.
Whole nother can of worms.
It's called The Fruit and Veggie Show. Starring Batman.
I'd watch it.
There's a little sneak peek to our pitch stop.
Is it like an Adam West style Batman where he tells the kids to make sure to always eat their fruits and vegetables?
Some days you just can't get rid of a banana.
And does she play Batgirl in that version?
Or is she like a Carrie Kelly female Robin?
Yeah.
Robin never looked better.
I'll think about it.
Is she complaining about having to wear like ugly tiny yellow biker shorts like Robin did in the 60s show? 'Cause while she is a beautiful woman, that is a hard look for anybody to pull off.
It's true. It's true.
I mean, for those who don't know what we're talking about, go visit anchor.fm/the-WOC.
Yes.
And our 11th episode is what explains the strawberry joke. And if you watch our pitch stop when I give my pitch, you'll find out who I'm talking about. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me, guys. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot how much I love strawberries.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Not just because of the way you can eat them. Alright, so do we want to talk about the big bad of WandaVision?
Yes. Let's do that.
Yeah.
There's a big bad.
Wanda.
There's kind of three big bads.
Oh, yeah.
One is this witch, Agatha Harkness. She's been alive since the 1600s. She was involved in the Salem witch trials. We're told that she's evil. Other than the fact that she, yes, has, killed some witches in her past, I didn't see much that would convince me that she was evil. The most evil thing she did was say, "Hey, Wanda, there's a prophecy about how you're going to destroy the universe, and I'm going to try and stop you from doing that." Now, granted, she was laughing maniacally while she did it, and she did try to kill Wanda's children, but she also knew that Wanda's children aren't real. They're completely, they're just this fabrication of Wanda's world.
She killed the dog, though, so no forgiveness in this life or the next.
I mean, John Wick would go
Absolute
after
evil
her.
right there.
But again, the dog was a fabrication.
John Wick was
It
in her
wasn't
little
real.
universe.
As far as we know, it could have been a turtle for all we know.
It could have been a wolf that turned into a dog.
Or who knows?
Some part of it was real.
Yeah.
More real than the kids, for sure.
Can you imagine how funny would it be if John Wick just happened to be in her little universe? He finds out who killed the dog, and he's just like, "Don't worry, Wanda. I could take care of this."
Yes. There was director Hayward.
I don't know why I sound like Nicolas Cage over John Wick, but
Actually, I'd watch that too.
Yeah.
But let's see. There was director Hayward. Director Hayward was the director of Sword, and he was one of the villains of the series. And I don't think he was really all that much of a villain. He keeps saying things like, "Oh, people with superpowers are dangerous, especially when they do things like, take over a town and hold thousands of people hostage to play make-believe. And basically enslave them, don't let their kids come outside." There was a lot of really dark things that happened. And he said, "Hey, we should try and stop this from happening." The worst thing that he did was, again, he shot at Wanda's children, but they had already incapacitated his soldiers. They were enemy combatants as far as he was concerned. And he had been watching the show the whole time. He knew they weren't real. So
the only other thing that Aaron pointed out to me was that he fired a missile at the town, which is counterproductive.
that is true.
It may have been what he considered his only resort or last resort or whatever, but he had vision being, hardwired or whatever. He could have waited.
That is I didn't even think about the vision aspect of it, but it's true. As far as evil goes, that probably is the worst thing he does, but even then, it's not even a guarantee it will make through the X, but it's still, as far as evil goes...
He reminds me of Senator Kelly from X-Men. It's not the same function or capacity, but sort of the same attitude. It's like, these guys are dangerous, we shouldn't trust them, and we should stop them from, hurting normal people. So I think that's reasonable.
Like, are they jerks? Absolutely. Are they misinformed or do they misunderstand circumstances? Sure, maybe. Evil? I'm not going that far.
Yeah, it's much like another comparison, and maybe that was the goal. Was the people who were running S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first Avengers movie? They did fire that nuclear missile, but to them that seemed like a very plausible thing to do because if they don't close it, Earth's going to be destroyed.
We'll even look at someone like Nick Fury in The Winter Soldier. He was totally on board with having these helicarriers go up into the sky and be able to eliminate threats before they happen. Hayward was at least trying to eliminate a threat after it had happened.
Right.
But Nick Fury is still a good guy.
That's true.
He's a little on the morally gray side, but he was on board with something that was worse than anything that Hayward ever did.
Yeah. No,
well, I do got to throw this out there. Even though they weren't necessarily evil, I think what it helped build Wanda's character enough for her to want to go out and learn more about her powers versus just having them. And it kind of sets us up for Doctor Strange to maybe teach her.
Yeah.
And so it's like they're not necessarily bad guys, but they were events that happened in her life that could build her up to become even more powerful, which is, honestly, Scarlet Witch is pretty cool. I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's Captain Marvel.
Amen to that. And that's the thing is, we didn't love the finale. I think we can agree with that. We didn't hate it, like, completely or anything like that. It was just like, oh, this is a nice prelude to the story I wish I could see.
It was lukewarm. The warm part was pretty much anything to do with the vision in the show. I loved, and I think Elizabeth Olsen gives a solid performance. But it was very a lukewarm ending after this huge premise and the huge possibilities. Because if she can make things look like the 50s, why not bring in people from different places and all this stuff? The possibilities were endless. And it kind of ended where it's like, well, they're endless, but not right now.
Yeah.
And, it's not like the finale ends with, Wanda and Vision holding hands and skipping with their kids while Walking on Sunshine plays in the background. It's not a happy ending, but...
Walking on Sunshine.
Whoa!
Right, like, they could have gone for that, and I'm very glad that they didn't. But... Wanda held a town full of thousands captive. She was basically torturing them. They were having all of her nightmares, her fear, her grief pressed on them against their will. And at the end, she just kind of walks away.
Not to mention her Darth Vader chokehold on some of them.
Yeah, she accidentally started to kill a ton of people. And, granted, when she realized what she was doing, she stopped. But she's a dangerous, unstable individual who there wasn't a lot of resolution for.
Well, and I think that's the reason why Agatha was so important, is because it kind of showed her you're not a hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Until she finally let everything go. Then she finally became a hero. She wasn't going to destroy the universe. She became someone who
or at
wants
least
to help and save people.
Or at least the potential to become a hero, instead of using her powers irresponsibly, emotionally, just for herself. It does lead to the potential of her becoming a really good superhero. But it does beg the question, why wasn't there as many repercussions, to her? I mean, honestly, with what we do know, who's going to capture her? So,
she's more powerful than Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I would argue she's more powerful than Captain Marvel at this point. And,
yes.
While that Kevin Feige said that when she was introduced, Captain Marvel is the most powerful being in the MCU. If she's not at the ceiling of her power level, she's pretty close. Whereas Wanda is just getting started.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
and maybe Feige, I interpret that as when she's introduced in the timeline, she's the most powerful. Or in other words, in the 90s, she's the most powerful. And that's me being me, but That's the way I look at it, because I'm like, I think there's some pretty powerful people who are much more powerful than you that have come afterwards. They also say she's the first Avenger, but that's not true either. So.
Yeah.
I got to throw this out there. I mean, just saying, she got sucker punched. It was like knocked out of the movie. Versus Wanda, who held him off with one hand.
She almost killed him. You know, the directors and Kevin Feige said had he not decided to have his ship attack, he would have been ripped limb from limb and killed by her.
Yeah.
So that puts her on the same power level as like a Thor, who is, you know, a god, and she's only just learning how to use her powers.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure she's way stronger than Captain Marvel.
I think Jed was telling me the other day that there's potential for her to be the antagonist in Doctor Strange, rather than a hero that he works alongside with. And that makes sense to me, because you usually want to have your antagonist have some kind of edge over the hero. Like Green Goblin isn't as strong as Spider-Man, but he's got all those gadgets and the glider and the weapons, so that gives him an edge. Wanda may not be as sophisticated or learned as Doctor Strange is, but she's more powerful, so that gives her an edge over him. And I think that would be interesting, and it's pretty much been set up to make that happen if they want.
Not to mention, it's would be good to see another antagonist with a goal that you kind of root for. You know, you may not agree, but you're like, oh, I see where she's coming from. She wants her family back.
You empathize with her.
Yeah, that's it. Because that's what made Thanos so good, was you didn't necessarily agree, or you did agree, you psychos, one way or another, but you could empathize with it. You understood why he was doing what he's doing. I don't think every villain has to have that, but if she was an antagonist, maybe not an evil one, but one that is the driving force for Doctor Strange to, you know, keep the multiverse together, if that's the plot of the film, then great. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. And if you look at, if you look at all of, Marvel's best villains in their movies, it's been, Loki. What does he want? He wants to be loved by his dad. He's willing to commit genocide to do it, but he wants to be loved by his dad. That's something that, we can understand. You look at Killmonger. He's had so much pain growing up, and he wants what he thinks is justice. Again, he wants justice by trying to have Wakanda go out and conquer the world. But, he wants justice for things that have been wronged to him. You look at Vulture. He's trying to provide for his family, and he feels that the government and superheroes have taken that ability away from him. We don't really support his being an arms dealer, but supporting your family, it's a good thing that you want to strive for. So Wanda says, I've had a lot of pain, and I want some way to have the man I love, or the robot I love, and my kids back. We can get on board with that. Now, we'll see if she goes to lengths that we wouldn't be willing to agree with.
Yeah. But it's
I see she prefers Android over Apple.
And it wouldn't be the first time that she's an antagonist of sorts.
Not at all.
I mean, technically she's been an antagonist for 2 movies already. In Age of Ultron, she's an antagonist. And depending on your point of view, she's an antagonist in Civil War as well. So
that's true.
It's not something that she's new to.
No.
And that automatically makes her, in my opinion, the most interesting so far female superhero lead in the MCU. And I always liked her, but this just adds that extra oomph, and it also helps the Vision as well.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as storyline goes, I've always liked characters who have that conflict, and you see both sides of everything for them. Because I feel like it brings a little... Because in real life, I mean, really is no very, absolute good and absolute bad. In this case, it's like life has just affected her, and now we get to see what decisions she makes, and sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, and that's what makes her such a well-written character for me.
And we saw a similar conflict in Vision, too. He's kind of afraid of a lot of things, like he doesn't remember his past life, he doesn't know what's going on, he knows something is wrong, but he doesn't want to, give up being alive, he doesn't want to give up his kids, but at the end of the day, he knows that, this is coming at too high a price, and also at the end of the day that he's not real, and neither are his 2 kids, and so As much as he'd like to stay alive and he'd like to keep on, having a life with what he thinks are his kids, he wouldn't sacrifice reality and the lives of all these other people just for his own comfort.
Right. And I just realized with him being a part of her, that version of Vision, that we could potentially see a lot more of those qualities in herself. But, that she'd be willing to lay down her life for the lives of others. In fact, I would argue if they were trying to look for a new Iron Man lead, who will eventually die in the end for everybody, I think she might be a good place to start as far as the characters we have.
Right.
Because we don't want to see Spider-Man killed brutally quite yet. He's still in high school.
He kind of did already, but ignoring that. And Captain Marvel, they're going to have to do something to make a lot of people more invested. There's plenty of people who are invested, but if they want someone to lead the new Avengers, as it is, they're going to have to make them more understanding and more heroic and not just a cool laser beam. And even ignoring the divisive nature of her character, she's more of a space-based character. It'd be kind of like having Peter Quill come in and be the leader of the Avengers. He's not really going to be on Earth all that much, so...
He would have so many parties.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, dance off, everybody. Avengers. Dance. That sounds like something Chris Pratt would actually do.
Yeah, it is.
It's okay if he does it, but if Tobey Maguire does it, it's a meme.
It's a meme, and it's hated forever.
Then that's great. Like, where's the
Yeah.
problem in this? I see this as an absolute win.
Yeah, I could see Wanda being the new leader of the Avengers. I could also see her kind of going, them kind of adapting, shades of the Dark Phoenix storyline into her story with her, where maybe at the end she's not a villain and she sacrifices herself to save lives, but also not quite a hero. A tragic, bittersweet ending. Something like what we saw on the DC side with Green Lantern Parallax story I think that was in the 90s. But yeah, something that redeems her, if not in the eyes of the people of the world, at least redeems all the things she's done in our eyes. But, at this point, while I do think she has a lot to answer for, it's not like I think she needs redemption. I don't think she's a full-on villain at this point.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah. I mean, she does have to, in a way, atone for the things she's done.
Mm-hmm.
But, once again, not the worst character in the Marvel Universe. I would say, if we were to compare her to Tony Stark in the first film, he's probably done a lot worse just dealing in arms and creating weapons that can just annihilate innocent people so quickly. So far she hasn't annihilated anyone, and she could very easily do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any thoughts? Or any other thoughts? Do we want to talk about the ship of Theseus bit for a second? Let's talk about how fun that was.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of, so often we see, and now at the end of the third act of a superhero film, now we have the part where they punch each other with super CGI, which can be a lot of fun. There's certainly times where it's been executed really well that I like. But I always appreciate it when they take a moment to say, let's do something else. Like Doctor Strange, the big climax of his film was, I've come to bargain, and trying to trick the villain. Here, one of the big climaxes with Vision fighting this new Vision, who's also the old Vision. It's a philosophical discussion about identity and reality. And that's how they were able to stop that conflict and maybe not save the day, because there was still other stuff that needed to be handled, but wipe out a big threat.
I just thought it was so funny where, actually Jed and I were talking about this before the show, of how the fake Vision, what should we call him? Illusion Vision?
What if we call him, kind of like how when Agatha revealed that this fake Pietro or no, she calls him, or Pietro. What if we call this fake Vision Fission?
Okay.
Fission.
Call him
All right,
Fission.
so Fission makes a comment to Vision, and they pause like, wait,
He's like, I'm a conditional vision.
yeah,
I require elaboration.
Like they're
You
punching
got a
each
point.
other and shooting lasers and doing like this phase grappling that was really cool. And all of a sudden they both stop. You can kind of see the wheels turning in Vision's head.
It was very much.
I think you're talking about Gears.
Yeah, yeah.
It was very much a Superman moment, in my opinion, because Superman, yeah, he'll start off and beat up on the bad guy, but if he can reason with them, he will. And that's what I felt like. A lot of people want to see more from Superman is his ability to make peace with people and also find common ground. Now with the Vision, because it's the Vision and Fission, he knows what to expect from the real body of the Vision. So he's able to reason with him in a way that they both understand, and that's brilliant. What I really like about the Vision overall, no matter what form he seems to take, it's very hard to say that there's a bad version of the Vision. Like there's no Hydra Vision or something out there. Because the original
Thank
Vision
goodness.
is heroic and worthy. The Fission, fake Vision, is still heroic and worthy, and he still cares about people. And he'll even, yell at Wanda to try to figure out things and go out of his way to try to, he put his body on the line trying to escape the barrier. And then the White Vision, he had his programming, but then he was adaptable enough and good enough to say, okay, well, this is my perspective, but broaden my horizons, enlighten me.
Let's talk about this.
Yeah. So the Vision's cool guy, no matter what version he takes. So
I
that's what I
find it-
really liked.
I did find it really funny in when what was it? It was after everyone in the military kind of got sucked in, and he finds what's her name, scientist girl, Darcy? He finds Darcy, and they're on their way, and they get at a stoplight, and everything just gets in their way. And then he has like that interview, and this classic.
It was in the style of a Modern Family, that episode.
Yeah, and he's just kind of sitting there, like, I don't think she wants me home. And I just kind of love that little storytelling right there.
Right, like beyond being like this great hero and stuff, he also has this kind of unique flavor blend of like weird hipster traits, but also very classic stereotypical dad traits.
Yeah.
I guess that's
So-
what happens when you have the whole internet in your head.
Right, right. And so, he certainly could have been much less wholesome than he ended up being, but he's just this guy who really likes being nice. He's kind of like a more heroic, realistic Ned Flanders. He just likes helping people. He's got a few quirks about him, but at the end of the day, he's going to try and do what's right.
Shut up, Flanders. So, no, I agree. I think there's a lot of great qualities. I'm excited to see his iteration. And kind of what we agreed upon, what I said earlier, is this is a pretty weird show, but it's pretty enjoyable. But it really felt like a prelude to the stories that we want to see. It was probably the longest trailer that we've ever had, other than, unless of course you include the other Marvel movies leading up to Infinity War. But overall, it was a pretty decent show. I liked the characters. I am kind of sad that the conclusion just kind of flatlined. It wasn't a bad way to end, but it wasn't as engaging as I would have hoped.
The closure wasn't satisfying enough. Like, for instance, when we watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm assuming, I don't know anything yet, it hasn't been released, but I'm assuming we're going to figure out who's going to get that shield. And if they don't do that at the end, then I would think, well, this whole thing could be fun, but it could also be a waste of time if you don't give us any closure.
Yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier better not end with, and then they all went home. which is kind of how WandaVision ended, except a few people were ripe from reality, and some people were sad when they went home.
Yeah.
And then they all went home.
That'd actually be kind of funny. Bucky's just kind of staring there alone. I don't have a home.
Like if it's Monty Python style, where it's like this, all of a sudden title card comes up, and then they went home. Greatest troll job in history,
Well,
I'd be down for it.
Well done.
Yes.
Great.
But if they tried to play it seriously, it's not going to be resonant.
No.
At the end, they just rock, paper, scissors for the shield.
Would it be three-way rock, paper, scissors between Falcon, Winter Soldier, and...
John Walker.
That's his name.
Yeah, it'd have to be.
Or it's a giant race like you see in Looney Tunes.
Oh,
They're trying to
yeah.
get the stuff.
There we go.
Falcon doesn't get his wings.
Yeah, no wings. You all have to run on foot. So it sounds like Bucky's going to win that one.
Yeah.
With
Unless John
Spider-Man
Walker's super
and
fast.
Deadpool
Yeah, we don't know much
commentating.
about him, about this iteration of him.
Yeah, if it's comics.
But they have to have Spider-Man and Deadpool commentating. The whole thing.
It turns out that Deadpool gets the shield. At least there's some closure.
He'd make some remark like, I bet you were expecting one of them to get it. Nope, I talked to old Cap. Shows him at the grave. Hey, can I have your shield?
Oh, that'd be amazing. I hope that at some point, because we have confirmed that Deadpool is going to be in the MCU. Kevin Feige has confirmed that, and that it will be the Ryan Reynolds iteration. I just want a scene of him and old man Steve Rogers sitting on a bench talking to each other. And I want old man Steve Rogers to, be, not shouting because he's old man, but, just grumpy, correcting, language. It'll be perfect.
Language.
Boy, you sound like you could use a censorship from that Star Wars movie Spider-Man made me watch.
So,
G. Rogers, it sounds like you've gone senile. There are other words than language.
oh, that must be the Alzheimer's kicking in.
Oh, that would be too soon considering that's how Peggy went.
Oh.
Oh.
And he's like,
Was hers Alzheimer's or dementia?
probably dementia.
Yeah.
Dementia.
Okay. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, I can just see Deadpool saying, "Hey, can I join the Avengers? You going to endorse me?" And then Cap says, "No, I don't think I will." And then they're
That'd be
like,
great.
"How was your meeting with Deadpool?" "I made him cry." "You made him cry? It was beautiful."
I wouldn't mind seeing him come back. Chris Evans.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, there's been a report that he's already signed on to new movies, so maybe he'll be back. Maybe
Like past memory?
Wanda will freak out with her powers and accidentally DH him, or they could use in Endgame when they're trying to figure out time travel. They figure out a way to age and de-age people. Maybe it could be that. Maybe it's an alternate Chris Evans. Or,
Like-
who knows?
The Hydra Cap or whatever.
Hmm.
I'm hoping that at the end of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Falcon finally gets his crap together and they're handing him the shield and Cap comes and is like, "No, it's mine!" And he runs away. It's like, dude, you just ran 13 miles in the last 30 minutes.
Nobody can stop
Does
the
he-
buddy shield.
When he steals the shield, does he say yoink, or does he say on your left before grabbing?
Yeah, on your left.
On your left.
On your left.
No.
It's mine!
That's what Falcon hears. He just hears on your left, and then yoink, and then he runs off.
On your left. Yoink!
Well, that's
How
all
we
the
doing on
time we
time?
have for today.
All right. I have Aaron as our timekeeper. Thank you for joining us in the world of Cinemax. And once again, apologize to our YouTube audience because I forgot to start the recording. So you're just going to see pictures of our faces doing weird faces.
We apologize for the pictures of our faces.
Yes. It's the price you have to pay.
Yes. So catch us next week. Yes. I should be looking at the camera. I'm talking to the audience, not you guys. Join us next week. And if you want to support us, down below, got some stuff. We will see you next week. Closing. Closed. We're closed.